Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Limitless You, where we give you the keys to unblocking your mindset and your personality style so you can have a limitless you as well. And today we are talking all about family dynamics and how those create expectations of how we're supposed to grow up and act and be, and how it carries on into our adulthood. And if it's not serving you, what to do. Because our guest, this guy is so cool. His name is Ryan Peck, and he comes from a family of 6 children. He's the second to the youngest. And he broke away from the family business, which has been unheard of in his family, and started on his own, and has done very, very well. But it was a tough decision. And I believe, Ryan, you're still having some challenges with the overall concept of it. So we're going to dive into it and see how we might be able to help you. Sound good?
Yeah. Thank you, Midori.
Yeah. Okay, good. So let me introduce Ryan. Thanks for being here with us, Ryan, and being open to sharing your story. You were saying before that you haven't done this before. You haven't shared your story, with the exception of to your wife. And that can be a little scary. So thank you for being open to it with us.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. You have a couple different businesses, and just tell us your story.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I've never really shared any of this publicly. Not with anyone besides my wife, but first time publicly, actually. So my background is I come from a family of 8 total, 6 children, second to youngest, 5 boys, 1 girl. So it was a rough house, physical house. But growing up, we all played sports and got along great. And the transition into our adulthood, where my father's an entrepreneur, business owner, and he started his own business. And one by one, we each joined him in his company, until it was my turn, and I was there, and my younger sibling too. And so we were all there for years, and, it was great. And I was there for a good 8 or 9 years. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, trying to get the timeline right. I got sick out of nowhere. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had blood clots. Actually ended up traveling to my lungs. I had 4 on the left, 1 on the right, multiple in both legs. Was rushed to the ER, and they did all the scans and tests, and like, oh my gosh, it's crazy, you're alive and stuff. So, and I was on bed rest after that. I'm here now, so I'm alive, and I was on bed rest after that for probably a few months. It was a physical setback. It was an emotional setback. It was hard. And but my family worked with me. I worked from home, and as little as I could. It actually took about a full year to kind of recover from feeling pains and energy and stuff. And exactly to the day, 1 year after that, I got blood clots again, a second setback. And so, my mindset was like progressed, and then I took a big step back again. So I was home for so long. So then I couldn't do anything for a while more. I was home for a longer period of time. And again, it affected me physically and emotionally. It changed. My world was turned upside down. But from that point, I never actually went back into the 9-to-5 office job with my family. When I got sick, it kind of took me out of the office, 9-to-5 office environment, because I needed health restriction, needed to rest and recuperate and recover and setbacks. But just from there, I never ended up going back. Now, I do still work with them on certain ventures, on certain projects and the companies. But for the first time in my life, I kind of actually stepped out of my comfort zone of being, in my family bubble, and started doing things on my own for the first time, which was scary. It was a risk. It was, is this going to work? I don't know. And I think a lot of that comes with when I'm in this bubble or in this mindset with my family, and I step out, I have this limiting belief, and this imposter syndrome. I think that's part of it's there. It's still there. And I think it was start of it too, with the way I was raised, being second to youngest, being told what to do. You have to follow the leader always, and your growth is so limited because you always have to, you're fifth in line no matter what. But now I'm kind of on my own. It's interesting, so it's an emotional struggle sometimes, but I have to remind myself, some of the things I've accomplished. And But yeah, so it's definitely a different thing, and it was risk taking, and I still working on it, but here I am now.
And here you are now. So at what point when you were going through your recovering twice, did
Yeah.
you decide, you know what? I'm not going back to the business. I'm going to start my own thing. When did
You,
that happen?
you know, while I was at home and while I was on bed rest, part of me, my mental side was like, I survived. I had this almost like a over sense of gratitude. I survived. I have to do more with my life. I have to strive to do more and study more and do more and, progress more, because I got so content in my life, where I stopped progressing. In essence, I just did the same thing over and over every day, day in, day out. So I had this sense of gratitude. I got to strive to do more. So I started buying courses on my own, which is unheard of. Like for me, I wasn't raised that way, or we didn't do that. But I started buying courses on my own, started studying them, going through courses. I spent thousands of dollars on taking courses and reading books and this and that. So I was learning a whole new world of online marketing and tips and strategies and whatnot. So I started doing things and applying these strategies on my own, just to kind of do them. But I would say after maybe about a year and a half, where I was out of the business, where I haven't gone back yet, but they were still allowing me to work from home. It was kind of like a mutual thing. They said, hey, you've been gone for a while. We need someone in the office, like physically here. I said, okay, well, I don't know if I'm ready to go in the office yet. So it was kind of a back and forth. And so we ended up, there was no hard feelings or anything. And I still help them. We still work on a company together. But someone replaced me, and and so maybe about a year and a half after the fact, where we kind of officially, I didn't go back in the office and started doing things officially on my own on the side.
Yeah. Wow. So that took a lot of courage, even though, it was kind of a mutual thing. That's still all your life. Up
Correct.
Until then, you knew you were going to be working in the family business, and
Correct.
You didn't have to really think about it. That was just the role you were going to take.
Yeah.
So I want to bring Carol on, because Carol is going to look at your personality assessment, the DISC assessment, and give you some insight into how your personality style affects you today. And then we'll go more into the mindset. So Carol, go for it. Let us know what you think.
Let's do this, Carol.
All right, Ryan. Well, thanks so much for being here and for bringing us an interesting story of probably very repeated over and over with any large size family, because when you took on a role, you still were the baby until the baby came along, which now was a girl. So of course, you probably had a different level of the attention, probably left you altogether, I'm guessing.
Yes.
So let's look at your graph. And for those that don't know what a DISC is, what DISC stands for, in the graphs, you get two graphs. You get a natural style down in the bottom right. And then you have an adapted, which is how you adjust when you get to work. Well, notice, first of all, the two are very similar. There's not a big shift up or down, a little bit in the C, little bit in the dominance, but up on the circle above where you see a star and a circle, that shows who you are naturally, which is the circle, and how you adapt yourself to work, which is the star. Those two are right on each other. So you're definitely right between the steadiness and the influence. And if we look at the natural style of you, the steadiness, the S of the DISC, is your predominant, not only just strong, but at the top of the chart, which means there's no room, there's not a lot of room for you as a style. We get our style from a lot of different input, but you learned quickly as a child where your role was in the family. That was programmed. It was not only told to you, but just by your age in the family sequence, you had to follow along and be nice, or you'd probably have gotten beat up.
You're absolutely correct.
So you adapted, and that became your winning formula, so to speak. The secondary, your I, the yellow bar, and anything above the midline of 50% and upward is called high. And anything below the line is low. And that means intensity of energy that you put into that life dimension. So the 4 dimensions of life are how you solve problems, that's the D, how you solve people, how you interact with people is the I, how you interact with the pace of the environment, what kind of a steadiness, the S is steadiness, how you steady the environment or how important that is to you. And the C is how important is compliance to rules. So we have problems, people, pace, and procedures are 4 areas that we all deal with. And we all use high, medium, or low energy in it. So when we look at your profile, we see a nice guy who loves steadying the pace. He loves people, and he's very good detail-wise. And the detail part of you is really what interested you to go in when you did have time from work of any kind. Nobody was watching you every minute like they would have in an office situation. So you could explore to your heart's content the technical stuff. And what a wonderful time to be exploring the internet and podcasting and all the things that attracted you. The dominance part is your lowest, obviously. It means you have the littlest need for solving big picture problems of the world, or even in your life. You do it through people with the I, and you do it through steadying the pace and creating an environment, a setup, the universe of that job, and you do it really right. Your family, I would guess, so over on the left now, the adapted style shows that in your general interactions, how you think you have to be, because it's really hard to predict by answering those questions on the disc input form. You cannot figure out how to answer and get to your natural style, because it's a Boolean logic in the programming that actually takes your natural answers from what you didn't even know you were answering it. It figures it out from another whole way of, what is that other technical word? Anyway, your adapted one says, oh, you had to lower your need to be in charge, because now you brought up your steadiness and your influence of people. Your C stayed high, but not running the show. And so you're steadying the pace, doing it great. You're involving other people from a technical point of view. And so that that needing to act like you were in charge or being smarter than in terms of big picture problems just didn't show up. That's why whatever you thought the model was supposed to be of what you should look like or be like in a man in business, it wasn't there for you to assert. There's not a lot of assertiveness. The I is assertive in style, but the dominating other people just isn't what you need. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm following along perfectly. And looking at it and trying to relate to myself, I'm just like, yeah, actually, yeah, I think you're pretty much spot on with how you described everything, the natural and the adapted. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You just kind of mellowed out all of those points, the I, S, and C lowered, but not a whole lot. And so what you see is what you get with you. And now
I think it shows so much about you being raised in a family and being second to the youngest.
Yes.
You know, you're the peacemaker.
Yeah.
I don't think you created a lot of waves in your family.
I don't think
You
so.
are, yeah, and you paid total attention. You are detail oriented. This is where I'm a little bit jealous because mine's very low. And so, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, but that's, I see you as, I mean, this is explaining where you came from right here. Here, you're social, you're friendly, probably because you had to be, or else you wouldn't be heard in your family with that big of a family, right? So you had to kind of be gregarious and out there.
Yeah.
Or not even gregarious, but just friendly and able to talk and step up. And then your C, that's why you're successful in business, is that you pay attention to details.
It's a natural. Mm-hmm. The only negative of having 3 strengths above the midline. So you have all of it in what you can do. So your intelligence and your ability to flex your flexibility is not high because your S is high. But the point I wanted to make was that when you say, okay, I can do this, the job needs to get done, the steadiness of the job, and your I goes, oh yeah, and I want you to like me, and I want to be really nice, well liked and well greeted. That's the I in you. And your C drops down at work because that's the least thing you're trying to, that's not your strength that you're moving into. So you have to hold it down, which may or may not be so healthy emotionally for you. It could be where it feels like a problem, because anytime we shift 30% or more in percentages, it feels in our heart like, ooh, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. You don't trust. And I would have Midori work further with you on trusting your natural gift that she pointed out. So there's a lot in that, and working with pros about it is a great idea.
So Ryan, you mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show that you're second to youngest and there's a hierarchy. In fact, you've talked to me about the totem pole. You see your family as a totem pole. Your big brother at the top was the one who it sounds like he kind of bossed everyone around in a good way. Maybe not always in a good way, but in general.
Yeah.
And you kind of had to toe the line. Is that about right? Did you feel like that growing up?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. You know, every family dynamics is different. Yeah, mine was the totem pole, and I was at the bottom, or near the bottom. And so, and then growing up, we had my eldest, and he's kind of a more stronger personality, and you do what I say and you do it now. We all get along, but so it's everything's taken into account, and it's like, yeah, okay, you just kind of follow along and listen to what they tell you to do,
Yeah, and as a parent, you got to have structure. So, but when you grow up, you were a son at one point. You are a son, but you grow up and you want something different. And so this is where the family dynamics come in for everybody. I don't care how big your family is or how small your family is. We all have these different expectations that our parents put on us. And when we go against those expectations, we feel something called cognitive dissonance. And I think, Carol, that's what you were hitting on, where you have that gut feeling that's like, I really want to do this, but I feel, for some reason, I feel like it's wrong, it's bad, it's shameful, I'm making a mistake. Even though you're not really doing anything bad, but there's something in your head, something in your gut that is telling you, you better not.
And you give up before you step out and take initiative. That's what this is saying.
And that's what so many people do, but you didn't, right? You may still have felt that feeling, but you pushed through that uncomfortable zone. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does. No, it does make sense, because there is and was an uncomfortable zone where, especially stepping out into something new, different, not just new and different, but kind of out of your realm of what you were taught. And it's not easy to do, and it's, even emotionally too, it's like, oh man, like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean,
let me explain a little bit further too. There's a book that you really should get if you haven't already. It's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
And what the premise of it is we all have these personal book of rules. And as long as we stay within our book of rules, we're safe from shame and embarrassment and condemnation. So we all just naturally want to stay within our personal book of rules until we want something different. So if with you got sick and you had that high C, and so you're so interested in learning more and having more knowledge and, exploring the world, that you had the opportunity to start thinking a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And you're put in a new situation, right?
Yeah.
And so
the 4 Agreements.
It's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I'll send you the link. But everyone should have it, because every single person in this world will relate with it. And so basically it says, as long as you stay within your book of rules that we all have, that's different for each of us, then we're safe. But we feel this cognitive dissonance, this feeling in our gut that's like, I'm not happy. And if we never break out of our book of rules, that's when people get depressed. They, their self-worth goes down, their confidence goes down, because you haven't pushed yourself beyond your limits. So the more that you do, the more that you lift up your confidence and all those positives, even though it will be uncomfortable. And Ryan, you've been doing this for a while, but you said you still have those discomforting feelings.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so some things, we don't have a lot of time to go into everything, but a few tips for you is, one, get that book, but be aware of it. Be aware when you start feeling those feelings of, I really want to do my own thing and I'm doing it now. You are doing it and you are having success, but being able to maybe raise your D up a little bit, like Carol was talking about, that's the dominant part. You were taught that you were at the bottom of the totem pole when you're younger, but that doesn't serve you anymore. And so there's techniques that we can do to help you get up on that D so that you can start feeling empowered more and being able to feel confident in your skin that what you're doing is right and being able to even strive further. Does that make sense? Absolutely.
No, it makes sense. I feel comfortable in a bubble, and it's only until you start pushing, getting it bigger and breaking out, where going to be able to get that confidence, learn more, do more, accomplish more, progress more, and feel better. And as you're mentioning that, I was relating it to myself. And, I like to say that I've progressed more in the last 4 years than I did in the previous 10 years, because I was just, like you said, not that I was really consciously aware of it, but I was trying to do more and progress more and achieve more, push myself a little more. And I just accomplished so much more, like everything on my resume is like from the last 4 years, because it's just allowed me to do more and more confident, everything. But there's still some of the self-limiting beliefs. Like you said, I need to just try and be more aware of that, with the D, and work on that. But I can totally relate to what you're saying, and it's spot on.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the reason why it's so important to be aware of these things, because you felt it, but you still pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone and you kept going. Yeah. But the reason why Carol and I have this show is to give more people an awareness, because when you can become aware of it, you're like, oh, that's a limiting belief, or, oh, that's part of my book of rules. So it's okay for me to go ahead and push myself out of this comfort zone. And that's all it is. It's like, I'm stretching myself, and this is a positive thing, but just being aware of it and then having the tools to keep moving forward, because the biggest challenge that can happen is that you're moving along, you're pushing yourself, you're stretching yourself, but then something happens that scares you. Hello there. I am Midori Verity, mindset coach and show host. And I wanted just to take a second to discuss a problem that I see happening so often. One is either people are working so hard trying to achieve goals or get to the next level, but they're not seeing the results to match their work level. Or people are so overwhelmed that they can't move forward. They're actually stuck. Sound familiar? If so, you are absolutely not alone. So what my team and I did, we came together and we thought, how can we help more people to create a program that's affordable, that's accessible to all kinds of people, so that it really helps you break through those mental blocks that are slowing you down, and finally finish that project, achieve that goal that has been eluding you for so long. On top of that, we decided to add in a bonus, and we are now including the DISC profile. So you get the full DISC profile, which highlights your natural gifts, also your blind spots and your motivators, so you can become a more empowered you. You put that together with the mental factor, and you have this 1-2 punch that's going to make your life so much easier and make achieving goals and your objectives quicker and seamless. I invite you to go take action right now. The price is only $199. That's an investment in yourself. So So go get it right now and start empowering yourself and getting to that next level. See you soon. Right? It can be something that triggers an old thought or an old role that you had when you were younger that brings you back to where you were. Where you start self-doubting yourself more, like, what am I doing? I think I can run a business. I can't run a business. I'm number 7 on the totem pole, right? And so those are the things, that's when you really want to have someone there to help say, it's okay, Ryan, you got this. Yeah. And we're going to keep on going forward. But that's something for everybody to keep in mind when you start noticing that you get really scared and you're retreating. There's something going on that's challenging your book of rules.
Yeah.
So that's all it is.
Having the language and the tool of DISC, the reason it fits so well into this whole conversation of mindset is that when you have a mindset that's going, I don't know what to do, or I'm not capable, having the disc, like you were now able to just jump into the language. Oh, I have to raise my D. But if you hadn't seen the graph, you would not know that. You might want the result of it, but now, and when you work with some of the tools that we give you in the profile, and that Midori is one of my trainees. I've trained her, so she knows everything I know and a lot more with the mindset. So it's really fun to have her use the tools and apply them, but you can use them too. And our listeners and viewers have this opportunity. DISC is an important tool to get a literacy in. We call it DISC or people literacy. And I just need to add that in here because otherwise, you might just read your profile and go, well, so what?
Learning how to apply it. Yeah, I think that's
this gives you the tool of knowing, and there's a language to use, and there's intensity of the behaviors. You don't go from that low D that you have all the way up to high D in one step. You can't. You'll blow the water and you won't know how to do it. It will be phony. There's no authenticity there. But if you learn how to step up little by little by little, and when you raise the D, something else is going to change. The disc graphs are dynamic. They cannot raise one without lowering something. So you get a little more bold and your niceness drops a bit.
But it can still be a good thing. It can still be a good thing.
But that's
there's a way to balance.
It's where coaching comes in. You got to know how to dance on the disc, is how I call it. And when you're dancing, you're not stepping on other people's toes.
Yeah, no, and I love it too. I love how you went over the graph and show the comparisons, and now I can visually see, almost like a roadmap. I can visually see, okay, this is where I am. This is where I kind of need to go above this threshold. And like a good analogy, the bolder I get, the nicer. Not that I'm going to be mean or anything, but it makes sense though, how it balances out and how it should work. And it makes sense.
Well, you'll be thoughtful about how pushy you are. I introduced myself. I'm a pushy broad. And I love people, and I'm not going to bite you or hurt you.
And it's a habit. It's all of it that Carol's talking about are habits. And habits can be changed, right? And new patterns can be implemented. And so by following DISC and learning more about that and having someone help you, that's an easy way to get clear on the steps to take to create those new habits that serve you better, so that you no longer are that little Ryan that was, I hate saying bottom of the totem pole because that sounds awful.
Yeah, it is, but
I'm using your words. Yeah, but you're Ryan Peck, who owns a business and you're successful. That's who defines you now. You see that difference? So I invite everybody to go take our DISC assessment. It's not you won't get the full package that normally comes, but it will give you a good background on what DISC is about and how it applies to you. All you have to do is go to MidoriVerity.com, find the link at the top for Limitless You, and all the other information's there, as well as the information for Ryan. So if you want to reach out to him, learn more about his businesses, if you have medical insurance that is challenging you, reach out to Ryan. And just real quick, Ryan, you have so many skills. Tell us a little bit more about what you do. You've been in touch with Amazon and some heavy hitters. So
Yeah,
give us a
yeah.
quick synopsis of your businesses.
Yeah, so I have a few different businesses. One is still with my family, and I have a couple of other ones on my own. One is I'm a Carol Dysart, it's a partner of Teladoc, world's largest telemedicine company, where it's unlimited doctor consultations with no copay. It's for free. And they can 90% of the time they'll treat and prescribe medication right over the phone. So it's 9 out of 10 times they'll keep you out of the ER or out of the urgent care when you have avoiding unnecessary urgent care visits or ER visits. We're partners with Amazon, Fortune 1 company. Also a partner of another Fortune 100 company in Allstate. And I've talked to 3 of the top Fortune 10 companies in the world and numerous others in the Fortune 100 companies as well, executives and stuff. And so there's a lot of people out there who are interested in what we have. And I also coach people on this side, to get more, find targeted audience and more kind of the B2B space, coaches out there. Using cold email and podcasting to get your product in front of an audience. So it's what I do and I enjoy it. And I work with a lot of people and on the executive level for one company and the everyday person, everyday coach, on another company. So what I
As
do.
you can see, Ryan is a wealth of information for all of you business people out there, as well as those who need some medical help. And I love that you have an option for us as far as that goes. So
Absolutely.
reach out to him. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being here with us and sharing your story and being authentic.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Midori and Carol. Thank you for the time, the assessment overview, the tips. Fantastic. So I appreciate it. Once again, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Till next time, everyone, we will see you back here with another great story and some more tips. See you then.